Welcome to Unit 2 of COMP444 Embedded Robotic Programming with Athabasca University. This time I'm doing a whole bunch of different circuits. I'll do a servo, a flex sensor, a soft potentiometer, piezo buzzer, and a motor. Different than the last video, and this one is more focused on some of the robotic movement that I'll be using later on when I work on my end of semester project. So the servo was pretty straightforward. I had no problem with the implementation or the code. However, I found it a bit odd that my servo didn't move 180 degrees as expected. Instead, I had a range of movement of about 110 degrees. Very odd. So you can see there it was at 0 and it went to 180, but it didn't go in a straight line like you would expect. Did just over 90 degrees. And I just added some extra functionality in that I could do a -1, which would then break out of the loop and then start the process over. Next was the flex sensor. And once again, using the servo, I couldn't get a full 180 degrees of movement. I don't know if my servo's the problem. If you do see something in my code that could be fixed, please let me know. And that's the serial port or the COM port where you can see the different values change. And next is soft potentiometer. Now, I really enjoyed the potentiometer for the previous video. However, this I found a bit unwieldy. It was a bit more difficult to try to pinpoint some of the colors, like getting a nice orange or yellow.
Pretty lights. Light show!
And this is my daughter. She wanted to help test it, and she specifically asked if she could be in the video.
This is kind of hard to do a light show.
Yeah, Bella doesn't like the lights, so
Bella?
I think she wants to eat it.
Oh, God. No.
All right, and that's all for now.
No.
Well, a couple more colors.
Don't say bye. No way.
All right.
This will go on for hours. Green, green, green.
Can you get a color that matches your hair?
Pink.
She was enjoying it so much, we actually did a second video. She didn't want to stop playing with it.
Is it matching my hair? Wait, I just got a red.
And at this point, she accidentally jostles it.
Whoops.
And her reaction's hilarious. Next up is the Piezo Buzzer. And I couldn't believe that the course did this, but they actually rickrolled us. It was awesome. All their students that take this and use that sample code end up getting rickrolled. Pretty cool stuff. And last but not least is the motor. Now, it's working in this video. However, I had a very difficult time trying to get it to work. I actually needed my husband to help me because I wasn't sure if the motors weren't working or if I had something in the circuit done incorrectly or if something was wrong in the code. He ended up taking the motors and just testing with a regular battery, and that showed very clearly that the motors work fine. And, looking over the circuit, it looked fine. And then one thing he did, which might be useful for other people watching this, is he took the 5-volt wire and then started moving it around the circuit to identify where the problem was. And it ended up being the dreaded resistor. Unfortunately, wiggling it did not help. I actually had to replace it with a brand new resistor, and then it worked fine. Another neat thing about the motor is that when I was starting at 0 speed, if I went, for example, to 10, it wasn't able to spin the motor. It could only get to 10 or 20 if I was coming from a high speed and going to a lower speed. So I thought that was interesting. And then, like a previous circuit, I made a -1, meaning that it would then restart the control loop again. And there's the code. So I found this really interesting. I think overall I enjoy the circuits in Unit 1 a bit more. I think because I prefer the precision, like for example, using a potentiometer versus a soft potentiometer, it's just harder using the latter to try to get the exact values I'm going for. but I can still see, why you would want to use it. I'm really enjoying doing this course, but it's one thing to build these simple circuits, and the real test will be when I start combining these circuits into something much more complex.